let's move on to main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Brady Dowler, who writes, I wanted to know your thoughts on reading books before they are adapted into movies. So, as a comic book reader, I'm usually pretty familiar with the material featured in comic book movies. This is not the case, though, with Dune. I am so hyped for the movie, so much so that I purchased the novel not long ago and am currently reading it. However, I am slightly worried that by reading the book that I run the risk of not enjoying the movie as much, or maybe even the other way around. Should I read the book first or wait and judge the movie on its own merits? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, the topic of novelizations being turned into movies and how do we handle that as fans has been around for a very, very long time. And of course, it's a very relevant one right now with Dune coming out. Of course, yesterday, Rob, we had a chance to look at those Dune images, which made me very happy. So we and I both thought those were great. But it does raise the big question about, should you read the books first, all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you my position on this, because I have a feeling you're going to have a different point of view on this than I do. But here's my thought on this. I am kind of the belief that no. I actually have a rule for myself. I will not watch or read a book if I know the movie is coming out. If I know there's a movie coming and there's a novelization, I will not read the book, because for me personally, I want my first clean experience with the story to be what the filmmakers are giving me on the big screen. Because ultimately what I find happens, Rob, and not everybody agrees, but what I find happens is when you read the book first, your own imagination fills in the blanks. Your own imagination paints the pictures about what that character looks like, how this scene came across, what does this person sound like. But on top of all that, an important thing to understand is that books can be like 700 pages long. A screenplay is going to be about 200 pages long, or not even, like less than that, probably about 150 pages, 140 pages long. So that means there's going to be a bunch of stuff that's left out of a movie that is in a book, because you have to adapt and all that kind of stuff. And what I find quite often is that we as individuals, our thing that we have the first experience with becomes our standard. And the other thing, whatever comes after our first experience, has to match up. Not be better or worse, but has to be equal, has to match up. And if it doesn't match up, then we feel a natural sense of disappointment. I've talked to a lot of people, Rob, who have seen a movie first and then later read the books and thought the books were disappointing. Whereas people who read the books first, then watched the movie, all thought the movie was disappointing. You know what I mean? So for that in and of itself, I believe the best approach normally is to not read the book first. When it comes to Dune specifically, I really feel that, because we've already heard Denis Villeneuve said, yeah, he's going to be making some changes, particularly with some characters and things like that he feels need to be adapted in order to come across properly on the screen and stuff like that. So my personal recommendation, by all means, hold on to that book and read it once you see the movie, but I say watch the movie first. Rob, you are not only a big movie guy, clearly, but you are a big book guy as well. What are your thoughts on this in general and specifically as it applies to this upcoming movie, Dune?
Well, I've always thought of the experience of reading books and watching movies to be very, very different. And I'll give you just one instance. Music. Music is a way to affect a person's emotions, a way to affect your mood, a way to a good bass, a good low rumbling, low frequency, and a French a tuba. Music can't exist in a movie. You can, I guess, imagine it, but music adds a whole new dimension to storytelling. And I just think that the difference between storytelling in a movie, on a movie screen, and in a book is very, very different. You have to, it's a very different experience. I mean, movie going is you're watching things obviously up on a screen. In a book, you can describe how a character is feeling, but you can never really know, like if a character's sitting at a cafe in a book, for instance, mostly that cafe is whatever it is in your imagination. But in a movie, you have to see that cafe. So to me, I've always been able to completely differentiate the experiences. And what I mostly concentrate on is the story, is the spirit of the story that was conveyed in the book retained in a movie. Like, you can change the details, but if the spirit of the story is there, that's what adaptation is all about. Like, there's a lot of Tolkien purists who are like, well, you know, Tom Bombadil is not in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I'm like, yeah, you could get caught up on those details, but the spirit of the Lord of the Rings books is definitely retained in Peter Jackson's movies. And I think that's what's most important. And I see them both as two different experiences that can be enjoyable. However, a book can definitely be diminished by a movie. And a movie, if you see a movie first, might disappoint people who later read the book because of the way it's adapted. So I see there's good and bad points to it, but I would never not. I've always preferred reading the book first. And I have found in my own life that it's helped me have a more holistic understanding of the story that's being told. I remember I reread Silence of the Lambs before I saw the movie. And I was disappointed in the movie because so much of the book is left out. But over the years, I've come to grips with the fact that, oh, okay, I still love Silence of the Lambs, the movie, and I still love the book, but I've made my peace with it. But I think it's always better to have read the book first because it just gives you a richer appreciation of the story being told.
All right, I knew you would. So guys, here the question is for you. How would you answer that, both in general? Should you read the book first before the movie? Specifically, how do you think that applies to Dune as it's coming out? Do you feel like I do, that actually reading the book can just set you up for a lot of expectations and disappointment? Are you like Rob, that you feel like reading the book first gives you a deeper, richer experience? What do you think about that? What's your personal philosophy on it? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.